I am not a collector at all. That has slowly changed, but that was the phrase that I used in the first like 20 or 30 episodes of Toys on Tap. I didn't have any of the collection, and then I slowly started falling in love more and more. My name's Abraham. I run Toys on Tap, and I formerly did toy creation under Yucko Toys. We've been doing Toys on Tap since 2021, and we just hit our 4-year mark, and it's been an insane journey. It has just become its love letter back to the toy community. One of the cool things about it is that it started because I didn't see that it existed anywhere. At that time, Killer Bootlegs had something going on SoundCloud, but right as he took a break, it looks like I started up. And now we're over 250 episodes in, and so I'm pumped. When we started out very early on, it was just the resin toy scene, and I got involved and I loved it, and I started making it and collecting other people's work. And it really just stemmed from people sending me work as a thank you for being on the podcast. Now I can tell you that my collection is my own, and I've kind of sorted out what I like to collect, and I'm here and I'm collecting now, and my wife is not pumped about that at all. My collection stems from all things Sofubi, production toys, bootleg toys, some resin figures. It kind of does the whole gamut of the toy community. I think the collection that you see is really only about 2 years old. I have to like really kind of taper myself, if that's the right word, because if I let myself go crazy, I'll just collect until I have no space available anywhere. And so it's only about 2 years that I've been really hardcore collecting all the things you see around me. I think the collection, when I look around, it's filled with things that I love, or things that I've fallen in love with. You'll see like there are production pieces, there are pieces that are indie toys, there are kaiju. I have so many TMNT bootleg toys. I'm in love with the reality of TMNT bootlegs. They are produced all over the world without a care in the world of what the IP matters or what it means to anyone, and they just went full force into it. And I've spent time trying to find some of the hardest ones. So anytime anyone has a TMNT bootleg that they're trying to offload, I get DMs constantly of that same thing, and I definitely always say yes. Bootlegs in general are so fun to me because they're really ugly. There's something about an ugly toy being in your collection that just says something different than a curated toy. Like there are Street Shark bootleg toys, and they are absolutely insane. And yes, I have all of them because I absolutely love them. I've started noticing that the things that bring me joy are the weird, or the people that I have connection with. One of the people that I have connection with most is Last Bastion Studios. It's Chris and Wes. Some of my favorite people. Every time we go to Designer Con, I absolutely beeline it to their booth. I have a Ragnar, I have the Luchador figure, and I love those types of things. Another person is Scott Cherry, Barbarian Rage. Sofubi is this new love that I found, and I really have just started picking those up. Along with the weird, I have to mention ETC toys. One toy from an artist is usually enough. For some reason, I've decided to collect several, and every time he's released the Space Squatch, I've picked up one. I have mixed parts, I have his uranium one, I have one painted by Kachina, and they take up one whole level of my soft vinyl cabinet. I think my collection even stems further to things that I just remember as a kid. One of the things that I remember that actually has no place in my collection are the creatures of Star Wars. The storyline to me of Star Wars is boring and played out, and I think we see it in a lot of movies, and we see this like hero's journey played out, and that's fine, and I think that people really enjoy it for that. I'm more interested in the weirdness of the creatures and all the animals and all the aliens worldwide. I have a crazy Ewok collection of just resin versions of Ewoks that people have made in the resin community. And I also have 2 of the creatures from 2 of the worst toy lines under the Star Wars name. Power of the Force is one of them, and then the Episode 1. Both terrible releases of toys. The toys are very cheap to get, but I love the characters. It's so much so that when I've worked with Dub from TKE, it kind of informed some of those toys that I produced with him and sold through him. And so, yeah, my collection really is all over the place. Yeah, my collection doesn't really have a theme. It just has a curation of what's bootleg or not real versus what's produced in indie. My collection around me, it's weird to say this, but a lot of the pieces are sent to me as a thank you. They're pieces that I love dearly because it started this friendship. I interview so many people regularly that I get to see toys all the time. And so it kind of informs what I want to collect and how that kind of evolves. With that, I kind of get to see the ideas that people want to produce but may not have the money or the time or the know-how to produce. And so this past couple years, Toys on Tap has kind of stepped in as the middle person for production. We saw a couple people that had really cool ideas and just didn't have the ability to make them. And so we decided to say, hey, we'll front all the costs for you to make this toy. And then once the costs are recouped and we sell out, that IP goes back to you and you can produce however you want. And the first toy we started out with was Chum. He's a really cool little shark piece that we loved making. He's very versatile, and we produced it in so many different colors and were able to sell out and be like a favorite of the community, which was awesome. And we kept going, and we've done several more, and I have one in production currently and one on the way to go through Kickstarter following that in September. One of the things that kind of kicked off toy production was in working with Dub from DKE. He saw that I had produced something called a Furbzerker with one of my closest people in this whole community. His name is More Horrific. He's a sculptor. He works for Mondo. He works for Bottleneck. He works for incredible people. His sculpting talent is unmatched. We were working together, and he sculpted this idea of a Furbzerker, this Furby figure that was stitched up with the skin of other Furbies. And it was a cool piece. Dub loved it. And it was really what put me in contact with Quang really early on. And I didn't even know it was the same person that was running Creature Bazaar. But then he put me in contact with Bottleneck, and they decided they wanted to produce statued versions of it. And what really kind of sparked my interest into going into production, though Bottleneck did it, and I absolutely love Bottleneck for producing that, how they promoted was really tough for me because it kind of got tucked away, and so it didn't do as well as it could have. But through this learning process, because I would never take back how that happened, it taught me how I wanted to produce toys for other people and what it looks like to promote and take shots and do all kinds of stuff for the artists that I love. And so that really sparked a huge ignition point for me jumping into toy production. Toys on Tap, I used to drink beer. You know, we kind of got pigeonholed into the name Toys on Tap, and sadly I'm now allergic to whatever is in the process of making beer. And we used to meet during the pandemic over Vimeo or over Zoom or whatever and post it on Vimeo. And I would just have an artist come on, we'd have a beer together, and we would talk about toys and talk about anything. And I grew so tired of that because I don't know if you understand how bad video quality really can be, especially when you're dealing with people that don't have any video equipment. So it was really just two bad webcams looking at each other. And it was cool. I enjoyed doing that. And so I transitioned into the podcast in 2021. And it was really just because I had fallen in love early on. In 2020, someone came and painted in our facility that works with youth. And they had asked if I'd ever been to Designer Con or heard of it. And I said no. And they talked about putting like animal heads on army figures. I still wasn't understanding why that would even be an art, and he really started bringing up this guy named Sucklord, and he was telling me all about Sucklord, and I was immediately enticed by someone who possibly started a whole scene. So I went home, started looking up Sucklord, and that's really the genesis of Toys on Tap. And we have been going non-stop and haven't missed a week in 4 years. It started out just the resin scene, then it branched out into designer toys, and then Sofubi, and then soft vinyl, and then it just kept going to then toy history and bootleg culture and all these different things. And we had an episode on tariffs, like anything you can imagine that centers around toys or the makers or people like Scott Hensey, who kind of made the toys that we grew up with. They've all been on Toys on Tap to talk to you about toys. One of the cool things about Toys on Tap is the variety of guests that you get and how that kind of sparks. But the podcast has gone all over the place with different Sofubi designers. One of the early on people was Sucklord, and I brought him on. Matt Gondet came on to talk about his art and the Sofubi toy he was producing. Mark Nagata has come on. Ron English has been on. He's doing a 5-part series with us. The podcast has been such a fun way to see everyone in the community, and I mean everyone. The toys that I used to get from McDonald's, the original sculpts came from Scott Hensey's hands, and I got to then bring Scott Hensey on the podcast and ask him about those toys that were in my hands when I was a kid. And it's just opened up such cool avenues for everything. And that's really what it means to be Toys on Tap, to see all these artists and who they are and what they do. I would say that if you collect toys like myself, you are never satisfied with your collection. You are always chasing something else, or you're trying to move out some stuff to replace it with others. Your collection is something that just mimics or exhibits who you are. And I think at the moment, I'm satisfied, if that's a better way to say it. I'm satisfied with the collection around me. Of course, if I had room upon room, I would have so many more toys in my collection. But then there's no end. You always want more. So I don't know that I'm happy with my collection. I'm very much satisfied and content with what's around me. There is one toy, I've seen it pop up. I am looking for it. So if you have it, hello. I think that Chance Priest has a couple. There is a Dragon TMNT bootleg that comes in a yellow box that is packaged, and it is the same size as the old school vinyl TMNT line. It is so hard to find, and it is so expensive, and I've only seen one in the 4 years I've been doing the podcast, and it was in the last 2 years that I was able to buy it if I had the money, or buy it if I saw it, but I can't find it again. It is, I can't remember the name. It's this crazy dragon figure. I'm in love with it. It definitely belongs in my TMNT bootleg collection, but yeah, it is an elusive figure. Some of the other ones that I used to think I wanted are becoming more available, and I've seen them. Like there's a Korean version of a TMNT bootleg called Our Friend Power 5, I believe it's called. I've found a couple of them. They're really expensive, but man, that dragon has eluded me for a couple years now. But yeah, that's the figure. That's the one. You know, Toys on Tap started as this love letter, and I've kind of taken that and I've wanted it to become a pillar at this point. A place where people can go, find information on their favorite artists, find everything that they want about the people they love, the toys they love, the collections they fan over, all of those things, which kind of turned me on to more stuff. So I now am producing zines about specific things. The Sofubi History Zine was the first one. I now have 2 or 3 more that are going to be produced before DesignerCon in November. Toy production kind of took over, and we now are working on several toys at a time. And so Toys on Tap really is now becoming this place where toys, toy accessories, toys that are just we found them or we're trying to offload them, toy adjacent things, interviews, now unboxing content, all kinds of things we're trying to build into one place called Toys on Tap. We actually are having our website renovated right now, which I'm really pumped about, with Tenacious Toys. Benny is a gem. If you have any questions about toys, go to Benny. He has all the knowledge you need. He decided to help us get our website up and going, but for now, we have toysontappodcast.com, which is where we sell all of our toys, all those things, and there's a little bit about us. We have every social media handle you can think of. It's all Toys on Tap, and on YouTube, it's still Toys on Tap.